Have you ever been told you're too sensitive or that you need to toughen up? Have you ever felt embarrassed because tears came to your eyes during a movie, a song, or even a conversation that touched something deep inside you? If so, this video is for you. Because here's what most people get completely wrong about crying easily. It isn't weakness, it isn't fragility, and it certainly isn't something you need to fix. In fact, psychology suggests that people who cry easily are often carrying some of the rarest and most powerful emotional strengths that most people will never develop. Strengths that quietly shape how you love, how you connect, and how deeply you experience this life. So before you apologize for another tear, before you look away or pretend nothing happened, I want you to stay with me, because by the end of this video, you're going to see yourself very differently. Let's talk about the 5 rare strengths you almost certainly have if you cry easily. Strength number 1. You have an extraordinary level of emotional intelligence. Psychology shows that emotional intelligence, the ability to recognize, understand, and process emotions, is one of the most valuable traits a person can possess. And people who cry easily tend to score remarkably high in this area. Here's why. Crying is not a random reaction. It's your nervous system responding to something emotionally significant. When you cry at someone else's pain, at an act of unexpected kindness, or even at a piece of music that somehow says everything you couldn't, your brain is rapidly processing complex emotional information. You're not just feeling, you're interpreting, connecting, and responding at a level that many people simply cannot access. Think about it this way. Have you ever watched a film with someone who didn't cry at all and quietly wondered how they didn't feel what you felt? That's not a sign that something is wrong with you. That's a sign that your emotional processing runs deeper than theirs. Research published in journals on affective psychology indicates that people with higher emotional sensitivity are more attuned to the emotional states of others, better at reading social situations, and more capable of forming meaningful relationships. Your tears aren't a malfunction. They're evidence of a finely tuned emotional mind. Strength number 2. You have a rare and powerful capacity for empathy. Empathy is one of the most talked about qualities in psychology, and for good reason. It is the foundation of every meaningful human connection. But true empathy, the kind where you genuinely feel what another person is experiencing, is far less common than people think. People who cry easily almost always possess what psychologists call affective empathy. This means you don't just understand that someone is hurting, you actually feel it. When a friend tells you about their loss, something in you shifts. When you see a stranger struggling, you carry a piece of that with you. When you read about suffering happening on the other side of the world, it lands in your chest in a real and physical way. This is an extraordinary gift, because in a world where so many people have learned to numb themselves, to scroll past pain, to keep their emotional distance, you still feel. You still show up with your whole heart. Now, this can be exhausting, and that's important to acknowledge. Feeling so much, so often, takes a real toll. But it also means that the people in your life feel truly seen by you. They feel safe. They know that when they come to you, they won't be met with distance or logic or dismissal. They'll be met with someone who genuinely cares. That is not something everyone can offer, and it is worth more than most people realize. Strength number 3. You process grief and pain more effectively than most people. This one might surprise you, but stay with me. Many people in our culture have been taught to suppress emotion, to push feelings down, stay strong, keep moving. And while this might look like resilience on the outside, psychology tells a very different story on the inside. Suppressing emotion doesn't make it disappear. It stores it. In the body, in behavior, in patterns that quietly shape a person's entire life. People who cry easily don't tend to do that. When something hurts, they feel it. They move through it. And research in the field of emotional processing consistently shows that people who allow themselves to cry actually recover from emotional pain faster than those who suppress it. Crying triggers the release of oxytocin and endorphins, chemicals in the brain that genuinely help regulate and soothe your emotional state. In other words, your tears are doing real biological work. Think about someone you know who never cries, who always appears fine. Now think about whether they actually seem at peace, or whether the weight of everything they haven't felt is written somewhere in how they carry themselves. Unprocessed emotion has a way of surfacing eventually, one way or another. You, on the other hand, are someone who lets things move through you. That is not weakness. That is a sophisticated and healthy form of emotional processing that protects your mental and physical well-being in ways that go far deeper than most people understand. Strength number 4. You have a deep and authentic connection to beauty and meaning. There is something remarkable about the kind of person who cries at a sunset, or at the last page of a book, or when a piece of music hits in exactly the right way at exactly the right moment. This isn't sentimentality. This is a heightened sensitivity to beauty, to meaning, to the profound and fleeting nature of being alive. Psychologists who study aesthetic experience and emotional depth have found that people who are emotionally sensitive are significantly more likely to experience what researchers call elevation. Elevation is that feeling of being moved by something beautiful or morally good. It's the lump in your throat when you watch someone do something kind. It's the tears that come when something resonates so deeply it feels like it was made just for you. This capacity is linked to creativity, to spiritual depth, to a richness of inner life that most people are quietly hungry for. You live in a world that is more textured, more layered, more alive than the one experienced by people who have closed themselves off from feeling. And yes, that means you also feel pain more acutely, but it means you also feel joy, wonder, love, and beauty more fully than most people ever will. If you have ever cried because something was just too beautiful to hold inside, that is not weakness. That is the mark of someone who is truly, deeply present in their own life. Strength number 5. You are someone people feel safe being vulnerable with. There is a quiet truth about people who wear their emotions openly. They create permission for others to do the same. When you tear up in a conversation, when you let someone see that their words have moved you, when you don't hide behind a composed and unreadable face, something powerful happens. The other person feels safe. They feel like they don't have to perform strength around you. They feel like they can let their guard down, say the real thing, be the real version of themselves. Psychology research on emotional contagion and social bonding consistently shows that emotional openness from one person lowers the emotional defenses of another. In other words, your willingness to feel out loud makes the people around you feel less alone. And in a world where loneliness has become one of the most significant mental health challenges of our time, that is an extraordinary thing to offer. Think about the people in your life who have come to you with their hardest moments. Think about why they came to you and not someone else. It wasn't by accident. People with high emotional sensitivity naturally become the ones others trust, the ones who hold space, the ones who make other people feel human again. That is a rare and irreplaceable strength. So let's bring this together. If you cry easily, you are not broken. You are not too much. You are not in need of toughening up or shutting down or becoming someone who feels less. You are someone with a depth of emotional intelligence that most people spend years trying to develop. You are someone whose empathy is a gift to everyone you love. You are someone who processes pain honestly and heals more completely because of it. You are someone who experiences this life with a vividness and meaning that others quietly envy. And you are someone who makes the world feel safer and more human just by being in it. The world has spent a long time trying to convince sensitive people that something is wrong with them. But psychology, neuroscience, and the lived experience of those who know and love you tell a very different story. Your sensitivity is not your weakness. It is your greatest strength. And the sooner you stop apologizing for it, the sooner you can start using it with intention, with pride, and with the quiet confidence of someone who knows their own value. If this video resonated with you, if you recognized yourself somewhere in these words, I want you to know that you are exactly the kind of person this channel exists for. Subscribe if you haven't already, because every week we explore the psychology behind the traits and experiences that make you who you are. And we do it with the honesty and depth that you deserve. Share this with someone who needs to hear it, and take a moment in the comments to tell me which strength surprised you the most. You feel deeply. That is not a flaw. That is a gift. And it's time you started treating it like one.